to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand. 'Cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand. 'Cause you are the one for me. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand. 'Cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart. Tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart. Tell me that you understand. 'Cause you are the one for me. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe. You just believe.
Say
Say that you want me.
all of the time.
All of the time.
Say that you need me.
Say that you need me.
Always be mine.
Always be mine.
'Cause we've got Guardiola. Yes, people.
I didn't
You know what?
consent to
He
this.
owes me €20 for taking part in that.
I didn't consent to this.
Apologies, people. Apologies. Listen,
That's a
we're very
copyright
excited.
strike as well, by the way, so we're kind of fucked.
The copyright strike. Listen, people, welcome back to the channel. We have another stream for you. Obviously, some of you may have noticed, some of you may not have noticed. I've been missing for a while when it comes to streams. Fair play to Joe and Dara last night. They did a great World Cup prediction, so I hope you enjoyed that for those of you who watched that. I'm back. I've been sick. I won't lie. I've had the flu for a while, but I'm feeling a little bit better. And you know what? Today's update on Pep Guardiola's contract situation, it's given me life. It's cured me of my illness. I feel a lot better in the knowledge that Pep Guardiola will be staying at Manchester City beyond this season. We have multiple tweets to talk about. Shout out City Extra as always. Our boys over at City Extra always giving us live updates. Absolutely massively appreciate that. And they have given us this news. So I want to say big credit to them. Listen, 20 people in the building right now. Thank you all so much for coming in, first of all. But do us the massive favor and just hit the like button. Smash that big thumbs up. It gets more people in here. It helps the channel grow. We're still on the road to 5K. I've told you before, people, we have big celebrations, big plans for when the 1894 hits 5K. Giveaways, call-in shows. We'll get you guys involved more. We've got more interactive content planned. So make sure you're a part of the community. Keep hitting the like button. Keep subscribing to the channel. Keep showing it to your blue friends. Any City friends you have, say, listen, people, I know a good channel here. There's two Irish lads. They're kind of idiots, but they're not bad. And a guy from Joe, where are you from again?
Some shithole in the north.
Some shithole in the north. Yeah, it's not a bad channel. It's not a bad channel. Share it around. But listen, anyway, welcome to all of you to the stream. Get your thoughts in the chat. I'm going to see who we've got in the building first. Rebel, I'll give you the opportunity to speak. When I see who's in the building, we need to welcome the people properly because I haven't seen these people for a while. So it's great for me to see the people again. You got to see them all last night, so let me say hello to all the man them. So Heeb, D1 Millie, Kerwin, Shoppers, BBQ. I think he might be new here. Welcome, Shoppers. Darsh, Alec, some of the usuals there. It's great to see you all. But listen, you've got myself, Joe, and Dara. We're going to talk about Pep's contract situation. We're going to talk about a little bit about the England game today. Obviously, myself and Revel are not English, so we don't particularly care. But some City players did feature, so it's nice to see them doing well. My man, Super Jack getting on the score sheet. The goal of the tournament, if you ask me. As far as I'm concerned, that was the goal of the tournament. He hit that with such conviction, an absolute thunder bastard from Jack Grealish. Am I surprised? No, because this is what he does. This is what Jack Grealish does. Big Erling in the chat says, yes, boys. Yes, Big Erling, number 9. Good to see you. I hope you're enjoying your holidays and your time away from football. We missed you in Dublin last week. But listen, anyway, Revel, Joe, how are we both doing? We've got a good stream ahead.
They still beat us without Haaland. It's not boding well, is it?
I don't really care. Listen, people, I'm gonna put it on the. I'm gonna tell you guys straight here. When it comes to international football as a whole, as a unity, if you like, I don't care. I don't get excited. It doesn't get my juices going. I don't care about international football. Now, that's not saying I don't enjoy a World Cup. I do enjoy a big competition. A Euros, a World Cup. I'm even a Copa America enjoyer. I'm sometimes an AFCON enjoyer every now and then. But when it comes to the friendlies and the Nations League and all those kind of things, I simply don't give a shit. I really don't. And whilst I am, I'm going to enjoy this World Cup because it's a football festival, like I always say, my main priority is making sure that all of our players return to the CFA fit and healthy and ready to win us the league again this year. Whether they win any World Cups or not, whether they play well or not, does not concern me. Once they're fit and healthy, I am perfectly happy. But we may as well start with the big news of the day, and that, of course, is the bald man you see on screen beside myself, Dara, and Joe right now, and he's got a smile on his face. Why has he got a smile on his face, you're asking? Because he's staying where he fucking is. He's staying in Manchester. He's going to sign a new contract. He's out in Abu Dhabi as we speak with Sheikh Mansour and a few of the other Manchester City officials. And we knew, myself, Joe, and Dara have done streams on this just before the international break or the World Cup break, saying that this was crunch period, wasn't it, for whether Pep would extend or not. We knew that these next sort of 5-6 weeks they were the tipping point. He was either going to go out to Abu Dhabi and say I'm extending, or he was going to go out to Abu Dhabi and say my time is up after this season. I'm finished. I'm burnt out, or I want to go somewhere else and try something new. But it's looking very optimistic. I think we've every right to feel good about today's updates, and we're going to get into the tweets in a second. But before we get into the tweets, basically, have either of you guys got any thoughts on the situation before we read it out and we break it down what they said? Were you confident before we went in? Were you nervous? How did you feel about it all?
Never in doubt.
Oh, never in doubt. Of course it was going to happen.
It would have been the most surprising thing ever if he had walked, right? You think about what he's out there doing. Brought in Haaland, not a project player, but someone who could be around for 10 plus years. Looking to bring in Bellingham, someone who could be around for 10 plus years. You look at Foden, new contract. Stones given a contract fairly recently. He is building for the future. He's bringing in Alvarez. This is future building, and he's doing it now. There's not a chance he's leaving, and there's also not a chance in hell that Erling Haaland signed if he was leaving. Let's be dead clear.
It makes sense. It all makes sense. I mean, I think as a collective, the City fan base have always been, or at least for the last 12 months, have always been fairly confident that a Pep extension was coming, in some shape or form. It's just a matter of how long he was going to extend for. We weren't too sure, but we kind of felt it was coming. I mean, all the signs were there. You outlined them. The players signing contract extensions: Cancelo, Foden, De Bruyne, Rodri, all signing lengthy extensions in the last sort of 18 to 24 months. And then you go and you bring the big man in on a 5-year contract. You bring Phillips, Akanji, Gomez. Who else is that came in this summer? Am I missing someone? Alvarez, Ortega. We're bringing all these players on long contracts, and plenty of them are young players. Why would they sign without the knowledge, or without at least the confidence, or verbal confidence, or verbal agreement, or verbal persuasion, or guarantee, if you like, whatever we want to look at it, that Pep will be staying further? Like, we're not blind people. We completely accept the fact that at our club, our biggest pulling power is not, it's not the club. It's really not. The biggest pulling power is Pep Guardiola and the squad he has built. I mean, we're not like, say, a Real Madrid or or dare I say it, even a Manchester United or a Liverpool, who simply because of the size and the heritage of their club, they can attract some very good players. The fact that we have Pep Guardiola is our attraction. It's our selling point. Now, over time, the more we win and the more heritage and history we create the right here, right now, in 10 years' time, we will have that kind of, we're a big club that's got a lot of success come to us. But we had to get someone in like Pep who could get us that initial burst of success. So having Pep stay at the club was the main pulling power. He is what attracts the players. These players that we have right now would not be signing their lengthy extensions. They would not be coming to the club, many of them, Phillips and Alvarez and Haaland, I'm looking at those three particularly, without Pep Guardiola. I'm just open and honest when I say that. We don't sign these top quality players without Pep Guardiola. He just is the pulling power. Obviously, we know how much money the club has based on, since the takeover in 2008. We know we've flexed our muscles in the transfer market before, but we've never been able to sign this caliber player with this level of ease either. When we're looking at top players we've signed in recent years, we've signed them with little or no real competition, or at least if we have had competition for players, we've kind of come out on top when we've decided we really, really want them. We've gone in for players and say they've gone to another club. That's because City kind of went, you know what, we actually don't want them that badly. I'm looking at your Freds, your Harry Maguires, and even your Virgil van Dijks. Could you call that a mistake by City? You possibly could, but we ultimately decided we didn't particularly want them or enough to pay what they were asking for. But when we decided, you know what, we really want this player, we always get him. We always get him. So you have to give your credit to the club. We got the ball fraud smoking the tears of every Liverpool and United fan. Any Liverpool fans here, don't worry. Just remember, a mank German make the German Scouser cry. I forgot there's Liverpool fans. I assume Darsh is referring to the Ilkay made the Scousers cry chant. D1 I can't lie. I don't like that players only signing because Pep is there. You know what, D1? It is. I mean, we have to be real. It would be nice to sit here and say, no, people want to sign for the prestige of Manchester City. And that we will get to that point. We will get to a point where players are joining us because we've built prestige and heritage and success over a lengthy period of time. But unfortunately, we have to just accept that they want to come to play under Pep right now. In 10 years' time, when Pep's gone and we have that big period of history behind us, success behind us, what we're going through right now, then we will be a club that players come to because of who we are and what we've achieved. But right now, we just have to flex our powers with Pep. Flex Pep a little bit. Over at the Swamp, they were begging for Frankie de Jong in the summer. I know, and they were left with the trousers around their ankles, weren't they? Man United don't attract players. Wan-Bissaka, Sancho, Lindelof, Maguire. Then the list goes on. I am Guardiola says he needs to make Rico Lewis in the starting 11 in every Carabao Cup match. I think so too, and it's looking like Rico Lewis, I think, is about to get offered an extension of some sort, isn't he? And up in his wages, or I don't know. It's looking good for Rico Lewis. He's looking like one of those few academy prospects that myself and Joe have spoken about in the stream recently, that are getting the opportunity to really flourish and are going to be given a lengthy period of time at Manchester City. UTS, I assume that means up the Spurs from Harry.
It's not up the Spurs. It's not up the Spurs.
What is it?
It's up the Shrimps. It's one of my mates.
Hey, your boy Harry, is it?
We are
That's my
Markham.
boy. Up the Shrimps.
Dar says many players signed from Man United due to the success of Ferguson. It will be the same within the next 3 years for Guardiola. Exactly, but it's something you just have to go through. But listen, Joe, what are your thoughts on the whole thing with Guardiola and everything I sort of spoke about there?
Well, yeah, I think the place where I want to start is just a comment by Dash. It's the exact same thing with why, we shouldn't worry about players coming and signing just for Pep. At least not, right now, because he is still here. But we will become one of those clubs where we are far too well run, regardless of who we have as the manager, to the point of where players will turn to other clubs because of what they've done in the past. We will become one of those clubs that you cannot say no to, with or without Pep, because we win trophies. We're good right now, and like you said, 10 years down the line when he's gone and we've got that period behind us, the players will look at that and go, they've got heritage, they've got winning history. So I'm not too bothered about that part. I just think it was inevitable. I don't think he was going anywhere. I don't think he was going anywhere while Klopp's still here. I think even though that Liverpool are on the down right now, the rivalry is still there. I don't think either of them really want to be the first to go, really. They want to kind of keep that going for as long as possible. It's one of the greatest rivalries you'll ever see, ever. So keep it going for as long as possible. And again, he seems really, really happy here. He seems invested in terms of just the place in general. Like, he doesn't look unhappy with the weather like other people that shall not be named. He just seems like he's so happy here. And he knows that this is the perfect place for him to be. He's with all his Barcelona mates. You know, the people above him, like Tiki, and, you know, they were with him at Barcelona. So he's got his friends here. I think, was it you said his family are back in Barcelona? They're not actually in Manchester.
His wife is back in Barcelona, and I know his kids are too, but they're all grown up, so I don't know what bearing that has.
Yeah, and I think that was the part where people were, you know, there was small concerns kind of creeping in that it probably wasn't going to change the outcome, but people were like, well, if his family are there, maybe they can, if anyone's going to convince him to go back home, it's going to be his family. I think that was sort of the main concern during this whole time. But I mean, he was in Abu Dhabi yesterday, he was there for the F1, everyone saw him, he was being interviewed on Sky Sports. Like, the team is not due in Abu Dhabi until December for warm weather training. I don't think they're playing any matches. I think they're just doing training, and we're in the middle of November and he's already there, you know, so it's a bit early for him to be in Abu Dhabi. So it can only really mean one thing, and the reports that come out saying that he's negotiating, like, it just all adds up into this big sort of, it's going to happen. And I think it's possibly, I would have loved for it to have happened earlier, because I don't really want to be focusing on it mid-season, but with the fact that there is this break because the World Cup's going on, you know, it's not going to create a distraction because all the players are away with their national teams or they're on holiday in the season break. So it's not going to cause any distractions while this happens. So I think it's a relatively good time to get it done. And, you know, I think it was only yesterday to the day a couple of years ago where he signed his last extension. So it's exciting times.
Listen, there's 30 people in the building right now. I know we haven't streamed in a while, but it's great to see you all back here. If you just do us the favor and hit the like button, try to get it up to 25, 30 likes if you can. It's great to see all 30 of you here right now. We're going to keep talking about Pep. Like I said, there are some tweets we want to break down. We kind of just gave you our overview, a bit of a timeline of how we felt, you know, getting up to this point, because we wanted to summarize it as quick as possible for you. Let's see what people are saying. Stacey, big up Stacey, good to see you. Hopefully Pep signs for more than 2 years. You can tell how much he loves City. I think 2 is probably what he will sign for. Anything above that's a bonus. I think anything above 2 years is a bonus. Rico says Dudley says Rico, sorry, has just signed a new deal. I don't think I saw a confirmation on that, but if you can link me to that report, that would be fantastic. Alex says, I've heard Pep signing 5 years at work. I know Alec works at City, and if you're saying you've heard 5 years, that would be, listen, if he signs for 5 years, we're having a party. We'll have a party live on stream, and you can all join. And if you drink alcohol, I will send beers to your house. 5 years of Pep on top of what he's already done will be absolutely exceptional work from Manchester City to secure that deal. At least 3 or 4, Kerwin says, Big Erling, are City doing any behind closed doors friendlies during the World Cup? I don't believe so. I don't think so, no?
Big Erling should know, man.
Oh, Erling, man, you play for City. You should know. I wouldn't think so, man. I think they're just going to view it as it's a good break. We have a game on the 22nd against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. We don't want to risk injuries or any of that kind of thing. I would imagine they'll just gradually make their way back to training as they get knocked out of the World Cup. And that'll be kind of it. I don't think there's any friendlies lined up. Pep better keep Grealish. Man, Pep needs to play Grealish. Pep needs to play Grealish, and he needs to trust Grealish in big games. Like I said, I know people don't like it when I criticize Pep, but I am one of these people who I call a spade when I think he's doing something wrong or he could do something differently. It's just me offering my 2 pence. I'm not saying I know more than Pep about football. It's just me offering what I think. I'm not expecting any of you to take it seriously. I'm just here to give my opinions, and I think that Grealish, and putting my Grealish bias aside, has played well enough to warrant trust in big games. And I've spoken in depth about this. I don't know how Grealish is meant to build confidence if Pep is not playing him in these big games, or at least not even bringing him off the bench in the big games. I mean, we've looked at the games recently, Brentford, Liverpool, and there's many more as well, who Grealish has played well in games building up to those games and then not given the opportunity in those big games. So how is Grealish meant to feel good? We did a video the other day that got some backlash in the comments saying we said that Grealish looks, or he feels distressed, according to a report from who was it? What was the Footy Insider? They said Grealish is unhappy with his role, or he feels like Pep isn't satisfied with him or doesn't trust him. And I feel for Grealish, like we said in the video. I think he's every right to feel like that, because whenever he does play, he plays well, but he's not given the opportunity then in a big game. I think that Liverpool game, we highlight that so much because it was crying out for Jack Grealish to run at James Milner. It really was crying out, and Pep never gave him the opportunity. I'm at Ashton on 28-day loan, wouldn't know. Fair enough. Erling, I hope you're doing well at Ashton, and I hope they're looking after you. Apart from Cole Palmer, Haaland, Mahrez, Rico Lewis, Ortega, everyone else is at the World Cup, so there's no team to play behind closed door friendly. That's it. And I think we'd rather give the players who get knocked out early from the World Cup the rest rather than rush them back into playing friendly games. Pep has the bollocks to make decisions that could go either way. Sometimes it works and mostly it fails. But name one manager that takes the big risks. I don't think Pep actually takes the big risks, or at least when you want him to. I think a risk would have been playing Jack Grealish, or would have been a signal of faith, and he never did. So I think he went with what he just trusted and thought was going to work, and it didn't work against Liverpool anyway. Football on Saturday, that was it. Grealish could drop his best performance in a City shirt and will be given 0 minutes next game. It's strange, exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Right, I'm going to get into these tweets because that is obviously the big talking point of this stream, and they are coming from Sport via Sport Witness. And obviously, once again, shout out our boys over at City Extra, Freddie, Lewis, and Jordan, and all them. Fantastic work. They're always keeping us up to date with the latest news. Anyway, this report was huge. Like I said, we kind of expected a report like this to come along at some point during the World Cup. Obviously, it's come earlier maybe than expected. But like Joe stated, he's out in Abu Dhabi watching the F1. He's chilling. He's having some red wine. He's having conversations with Sheikh Mansour. He's having a laugh. Anyway, it seems like we have a bit of a breakthrough. The first report, or the first part City Extra gave us, was Pep Guardiola will continue as Man City manager beyond this season and has decided to start negotiations over a new deal. Now, that immediately we're all going, yes, yes. What we wanted to hear was, first and foremost, before we start questioning how long it's going to be, what he's going to earn, what the ins and outs are of the deal, we just wanted the basic confirmation. Okay, so you're staying on. That was the first thing we want to know. He's staying on. Happy fucking days. How do we feel about that? Let's talk about that first. Joe.
I'm delighted. Again, I saw it coming, so I'm not like... I say not over the moon is an understatement. Like, there is no better man for the job. The man who has built this squad from the ground up. De Bruyne, the only player that is still here that he inherited when he got here. The rest of them, they're all his signings or academy products that he's put trust in to come and fill the gaps in the squad. This is his team. So there is no one else better in the world to manage this set of players. And he knows it. The players know it. The club knows it. Everyone else, all the other clubs know it. That while he is here, we could have a down year. We could genuinely be hit with about 10 injuries, or 10's a bit much, but we could genuinely be hit with an injury crisis like we were when Liverpool won the league, and we still finished second. We still, we're relatively in there. Like, we're not completely out of sorts. We'll still be competitive in trophies. Maybe the league becomes a bit of a reach because that Liverpool team was so good, but we still finished second that year. Like, it's still not bad. While he's here, he will do great things. Of course, that he's still hunting for that Champions League, which I think it's more of a press thing now. I think, well, you can all speak for yourselves, but I don't really care about the Champions League anymore. I don't think it's a blemish. I'm not bothered. If he wins it, he wins it. If he doesn't, I'm not really that bothered. I don't think it hurts his legacy at all whatsoever. Like, he's still won 4 or 5 Premier Leagues, hopefully soon to be 5 or 6. Like, that's incredible. No one's done that since Sir Alex Ferguson, who is regarded as the greatest ever. So, not winning the Champions League doesn't hurt him at all. But yeah, man, I'm happy because if we've gone through the hypotheticals before on a stream, if he wasn't to sign this contract, if he was to turn around and go, I want to go be with my family for a year in Barcelona, take a break, I don't know what we would do. I don't know who we would get because I don't really think there's like an outstanding candidate to replace him. So I'm just really happy that it's just getting done because I don't see who comes after. But now that he's signing this extension, we don't have to think about that anymore. We don't even have to think about the hypotheticals anymore. Like, it's done. We don't have to think about who might have done it if he would have done it. There's no ifs anymore.
Yeah, no, and I think that report, that first tweet that I spoke about there, I think that will just really just upset or piss off the rival fans. I mean, Arsenal Alex in the chat says, damn, league title in the bag for you. It look like they'll just view it as ominous, really, really ominous. Your Liverpool's, United's, Chelsea's, anybody who has any intentions of challenging for league titles in the next 2-3 years, they'll just go, oh, what can we do? Your man's staying over at City. Well, how can we compete, kind of thing? Because he does look like, or he does come across as a juggernaut, Pep, doesn't he? With the success he's had in a relatively short period of time, and the pace in which he got it from the moment he walked through the door. Granted, his first season he had to just get that top 4 spot, and then from then on, Centurions, 98 points, whatever it was, and so on and so forth. He just comes across as a juggernaut. So I'd say people like Arsenal Alex in the chat, I know the rival fans, were just baying for Pep Guardiola to turn around and say to the Sheikh in Abu Dhabi, yeah, at the end of this season, I'm packing my bags and I'm taking a sabbatical, or I'm doing whatever needs to be. So I think this, like I said, after I read that first tweet, this was the first thing we wanted to hear. Before we ask for any dates or years on the contract or figures, etc. Before we get to the ins and outs of it. We just want us to know, Revel, that he was simply staying on.
100%. Yeah, I mean it's the best case scenario for City. Let's be fair. I think City were always confident though. I think we got the inkling that it was pretty much in the midst of being done like about a month ago, wasn't it? We somewhat heard in the grapevine. But I think if City weren't certain this was going to happen, we'd have heard City have entered preliminary talks with another manager. We would have heard that by now, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But we haven't. We haven't even heard a sniff of that. We haven't even heard potential suitors. Like, let's be fair. Any potential suitor. We've not
Sean
even
Dyche
heard
is free, man. Sean Dyche is free, is all I'm saying.
Sean Dyche is free. Sean Dyche is free. That is very true. But right now, we haven't heard a word about him. We haven't heard a word about any successors. That's because he's staying. That's because he wants to stay. He wants to be here for possibly 10 years. We're leaving a hat on 2 years at the minute. But if he signs a 3-year deal, that would bring him to 10 years. That would be absolutely unbelievable. To go back to what Joe said, I'm in his camp. I don't think, from our perspective, from City fan perspective, that if Pep wins or doesn't win Champions League, it doesn't taint him at all for me personally. Not at all for me. I do think from an outside in any debate, people go, he never won a Champions League. Fuck that. Like, let's say all said and done, he signs 2 years and leaves. After that, we'll have had 9 years of pure, hopefully pure dominance. If that's at the price of a Champions League, I'll take it. I'll take what do you say, Joe? 4 and 5 at the minute, is it?
4 and 5, hopefully to be 5.
I will
and
take
6.
minimum 4 and 5. 4 and let's be fair. If he stays for another 3 years, he's getting minimum one Premier League title. I will take 5 and 9 years at the expense of no Champions Leagues, and considering we get a few cups in between, I'll take that 100%.
And it'll probably be more than 5 as well, if we're being real.
It will definitely be more than 5. Let me just put it out there. It will be more than 5.
Imagine 6 or 7 out of 10. I'm sorry, Champions League or no Champions League, you take that all day. That is ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
This is the best case scenario that could have happened to the club. I'm chuffed. Joe used the phrase "not over the moon," and I do agree with that. That's because everyone's known this. This is the worst kept secret in football. He will sign. We know that. That's why we're not bouncing off the ceilings with this news, because everyone knew it. Like, I haven't seen even one person in the chat be a bit pessimistic about that. And again, everyone who's watching on time knows I am Mr. Pessimistic. I am pessimism embodied. I didn't even think he was leaving.
The thing with the Champions League is your rival fans and your football gurus out there, they will say whenever Pep leaves, if he hasn't won the Champions League, they will go, he should have won it that year, or he had X amount of players and he had these names and he never won the Champions League. That's a black mark. Now, the question is, would we trade 5 Premier Leagues for 1 Champions League? No, absolutely not. You have to remember, people, where this club has come from, yeah? I know we look like a superpower right now, and we are a superpower right now, but you have to remember where this club has come from. Now, fortunately, I am too young to say or to claim I've been there at Grimsby away or York away and the really dark days, but I'm aware. I've learned my history, and I've spoken to older people. I've spoken to my granddad, who was there for a lot of it, and they'll tell you about how shit it was. So to now be in a position where we're talking about, would we rather trade our 5 Premier Leagues for a Champions League or keep our 5 Premier Leagues and take a Champions League? Mate, we're blessed. We've absolutely hit the lottery. We're absolutely blessed to have experienced what we have. So I'm the exact same. I just echo what Dara and Joe have just said. I wouldn't change anything for the world. If Pep was to leave this season and not win a Champions League, I'd still be absolutely thankful to the core. I'd be graceful. I'd be thankful. I'd be every adjective you can to show happiness and thanks. And I'd be excited for a new era, because even when Pep does leave, yes, it will be sad, but we have the comfort and the net to fall back on, that we know we have a very efficient and smart board who make good decisions, and they always have the club's best interest at heart. So whoever comes in to succeed Pep, I would imagine will do a decent job. Will it be as good as Pep? You never know. Will it be as quick as Pep? You never know. But I trust the people running our club and pulling the strings to keep bringing success in some shape or form. We can't get too used to and expect the success we're going through right now and just assume that the rest of our lifetime is following Manchester City will be like this, because that's not the way football works, people, unfortunately. But like I said, we're blessed. We're blessed. We know where this club has come from. We know where we are right now, and I always say, and I think other City fans who make content will always say, just enjoy it. Just enjoy it. I mean, if there was a rival fan on the stream right now, I'd probably be giving it more chest and bigging us up more. But listen, there's 30 of you in the building right now. I assume most of you are City fans, and we're City fans here. I'll always say to you guys, just enjoy every second of it. Just enjoy every moment, every goal, every time you see Haaland on the pitch, every time you see De Bruyne, every time you see Pep lift a trophy. Just be grateful and be thankful because we're blessed to follow this club and blessed to be on this journey. So, listen, Pep Guardiola, stay as long as you want, but listen, City is the main thing. City is bigger than Pep. The club is more important than Pep Guardiola. We love Pep. We're so grateful. But when Pep leaves, we're still City fans. And that's just the way it is. So, listen, the next part of this report that came out was Guardiola, cheeky Bergestein, and Ferran Soriano will begin with the basis for the manager's new Man City contract and talk about plans for the team. It will not take long to find a deal as all parties want the project to continue. Now, let's break this down a little bit because this is where it gets a little bit interesting, people, yeah? This is where it gets a little bit exciting. This is where we can start to think and dream a little bit. We can start to speculate about what this means because I said in the first part of the report, we just wanted to know he was staying on. He's staying on. We had that. Let's dive a little bit further, shall we? Let's dive a little bit further and see what's going on. The basis for Man City's new contract and talk about plans for the team. Talk about plans for the team. That would lead you to believe they were discussing potential transfers and what way they want to move their transfers. Did Jude Bellingham's name crop up in the conversation? I wonder. Did we make a video about Jude Bellingham the other day? Yes, we did. You should go and leave a like on that video. We spoke about Jude Bellingham and the latest updates in that situation. But this part of the report to me, Joe, suggests that Pep is staying. Obviously, we know that. And he's thinking long term. And he's thinking names. Do you think, in your opinion, the Bellingham fella cropped up in this conversation?
At some point, yes, because they're going to be discussing a multitude of things. With the amount of games that are going to come in the second half of the season, he's not going to get a chance to have these sort of conversations without it becoming a distraction until after the season. So realistically, this is like the last chance until everything's said and done. And by that point, you never know what's going to happen with Bellingham. You know, if you want to put down a marker early and try and get in there before everyone else, or try and state your case to Bellingham's camp before everyone else, you've got to have these conversations nice and early, and this is the perfect time to do it. So yes, his name will have come up in there. I'm sure many other players' names would have come up in there in terms of the amount of players that we have been linked to. I mean, you've got your Leaos, your Gvardiol's who was in the summer. You've got Messi who's been floating around a little bit a few weeks ago. Like, there'll be a multitude of names. There'll be option A, B, C, D, and maybe even a few more in terms of midfielders. There'll be talks about contract extensions for players. You know, obviously the two main ones being Gundogan and Bernardo Silva. Which ones do they think they will keep? Which ones do they think they will lose, if any at all? Just things like that of, you know, what their plans are. And I think that obviously the bulk of the conversation will be how long. It's not how many zeros on the contract. Pep can dash out any number he wants and they'll just write it down on the contract. It's about how long. I think that's the main talking point from the meeting will be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. How long do you want? We'll give you money, not an issue. Don't matter. How many zeros do you want? How long? How many years do you want on this contract? Because that is the main thing. Of course, we've just said that, you know, that's not really our main focus right now. The main point was just knowing that it's going to get done. But of course, the big next talking point is for how long, because we don't know. Obviously, people are saying 2 years. I think it's probably the most realistic, but 3 would take him up to 10. So that's quite a nice round number that we've seen legends of the past. You see your Aguero's, David Silva's, companies, etc. They do about 10 years and then they went off and sort of they went off to finish their careers. So maybe he is thinking, you know, the magical 10 and then he'll call it at that. I don't know. That'll obviously be in the discussion, but of course transfer names will be in there. Bellingham will be in there. I think there was a report from Yang Ang, I can't pronounce his name. I'm awful at names. Fjolford. That guy.
Yeah,
that guy.
I saw the tweet earlier. I'll grab it for you if you want to talk about it.
I'll say really quickly before you go on, Joe. Big up MCFC lads in the building. I met Luke last week at the Content Creator Awards. What a legend. I'd love to get him onto the channel sometime for a show. Just big shout out to him, man. Big love. Go on, Joe.
I can't find it.
There was a tweet from that Norwegian geezer who was obviously big on the Haaland stuff about Bellingham and saying that the Dortmund owner doesn't want to sell to those clubs being state-owned clubs, City, PSG, and, you know, those sorts of clubs. But Bellingham's camp wanting to make the decision for them. And I go back to the point of, again, you want to try and make your impression on the people surrounding Bellingham early on. You see the news that we covered on the Bellingham video that you should definitely go and watch at some point. That'd be quite nice. You saw the news that we covered saying that we'd be prepared to wait an extra year. Nobody thinks it's going to go that extra year, but I said that tells Bellingham's camp that we're willing to do a lot to secure this player, which will, go down well in his camp. So these sort of discussions around Bellingham, that'll be not just the price or do you want this player or, the various options if that doesn't happen. It's how do they want to go about it? How desperate are they? How much does he want him? But those sorts of questions, and that's important. And it does tell you that he's, it's not like a 1 or 2 year thing. Maybe he does sign a 2 year, maybe he signs another one after that. That's obviously future thinking. But, if he's talking about Bellingham, who is, again, we have to preface it, he's 19 years old. He's only 19, young fella on him, scored at the World Cup. But it's another future player. It's another player that you can see, obviously, this would obviously be down to how happy he is and, how he wants his career to go. But player you could easily see doing 10 years. 10 years easy. That's a future player. Even though he's good now, that's still a future player. That's still a player that's going to take a long time down the line to get the best out of him, really. So will it be just this extension? Will he sign another one? I don't know. I don't care. I just want him to sign this one, and then let's just focus on dominating for another few years. That's all I want.
D1 says, Hugh forgot to ask, bro, how was the content awards? It was a great night, man. It was a great night. I met a lot of really cool people. All the AFTV guys. I met Luke from MCFC lads. It's just a shame. It's just a shame the Big Six didn't win gold, but you can make your own conclusions as to why we didn't win the award. But it was a great night to meet so many cool people. But Beyond Belief says, sad to see Pep being harassed at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Leave the genius alone, Sky. Listen, yeah, he's out there enjoying himself, but the thing is, Pep knows whenever he goes to any of these events, he's going to be not the center of attention, but he's going to attract a lot of attention because of who he is and, his current contract situation with it being semi up in the air. He's going to get asked a lot of questions and he's going to be asked, what his plans are. So he knew fine well what was going to happen to him. But it is, yeah. If he is just trying to enjoy himself, maybe ease off a little bit, Sky. Give the guy some space to enjoy the cars. Beyond belief, rolling contract most likely. As long as he's happy, he stays. If he wants to leave together with the club, we must find a suitable successor to continue the blueprint. And I think Rebel kind of touched on that very well a few minutes ago when he said, if Pep was to leave this summer, we would already be hearing hacks and leaks about potential successors. We'd be seeing names thrown around. We'd be seeing managers come forward saying they're interested in Manchester City's job and that sort of thing. So I think we'd every right to just feel confident that this deal was going to happen. And Joe was spot on with all the Jude Bellingham talk there as well. And I'm not going to try to pronounce that guy's name either. I know he's involved with Haaland, Jan, and go on.
I'm going to go with the second name. His first name is actually Fjortoft.
Right, Jan and Fjortoft. He's obviously involved.
It's like Ajay. There's no N, funny enough. I thought there was an N.
That Norwegian geezer who did really well with the Haaland stuff, right? That guy on the screen right there. Yeah, that Norwegian fella. News.
Yeah, that Norwegian geezer who's involved with Haaland. He obviously put up a tweet today about Jude Bellingham saying admiring him in some shape or form. So maybe if Jan Aj or the Norwegian geezer, if he could help us get if he could help us get the Haaland or the Bellingham deal over the line, that'd be fantastic. And I think it was D1 said something up here a few minutes ago about, Hugh, did you see Manchester Evening News today? It said Erling Haaland has already told you Bellingham to sign for Man City. I think we can expect this, and it's just nice to see that this is it's true, or at least if Manchester Evening News of what they're saying is true, it's nice to know that Haaland is telling Bellingham to come, because you best believe Bellingham will take Haaland's word seriously. They were really good friends or best friends when Haaland was at Dortmund. So, Haaland's word to Bellingham will mean a lot, and it's good. It's only good for the club. It's only going to help our chances when you have Haaland saying to Bellingham, "Come to Man City." I would hope that the City players in the England camp right now are doing likewise. It only helps our chances. I mean, on that video we did the other day that you should definitely go and watch and leave a like on, we spoke about it. There's no more obvious suitor for Jude Bellingham than Manchester City Football Club right now. When you're looking at infrastructure and what we can offer him in the right here, right now, as well as long term, there's nothing more perfect for Bellingham than Manchester City in terms of pressure, in terms of maximising his potential, in terms of success, in terms of manager, players, friends, lifestyle. He's English, Premier League, the whole lot. You name it. I just think it's too perfect for it not to happen. I'm putting it on record. the same way I feel about Pep's contract being inevitable, I think Bellingham to City is inevitable. And I know the Scousers feel they're going to get Bellingham, and I'm pretty sure Madrid fans feel in some shape or form they're going to get Bellingham. But it just is what it is. I just feel like we're going to get Jude Bellingham. I'm very confident. Fern Gully, bless up you guys. We're taking in your show right now. Just discovered it by chance. Big up Fern Gully, man. Thank you for coming and joining the community. There's 40 people in the building right now, 41. Make sure you have all smashed the like button. We massively, massively appreciate all of your support. It helps the channel grow. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit that big red button. We're on the road to 5K. Big love to all of you who show love to us regularly. Jan Anger Fjortoff, beyond belief, says, okay. Ange, I think Jude always looks like he's auditioning to play for City when he's our opponent, or it could be me dreaming because he's mint and still 19. Listen, the Bellingham thing, I could talk about Bellingham all day. I don't want to do that because you guys probably get sick of me talking about Bellingham, but I want him a lot at my football club, and I think he wants our club too. And we spoke about recently on I think it was either a stream or a video or both, about how he's going to take a similar approach in deciding his next club to what Haaland did when he was deciding to sign for Manchester City. I think we'll know, or we'll have a pretty fair idea that he's going to come to us in late March, early April, the exact same way that the Haaland thing happened. I think we'll have a pretty clear idea about Jude Bellingham's future late March, early April, and I believe he's going to wear blue next year, and it'll be the bright blue of Manchester City. Anyways, let's continue with this report from Sport via Sport Winners. Shout out City Extra once again for all the updates. This is the third and final part of the report that we were given, and it's a nice one, really. It's a wholesome one, and it's one that we like to see. It's that our manager is happy. Pep Guardiola is delighted, in inverted quote commas, at Man City, and there is no hurry to leave, once again, in inverted quote commas. So that means it's some sort of a quote. Someone has said that, whether it's Pep himself or his representatives, we don't know. But apparently Pep is in no hurry to leave. The new manager did not want talks over a new contract to affect Man City's routine, and that is why they are doing it right now while the squad is away. And I think that's fairly understandable. I think it was a pragmatic and selfless decision of Pep Guardiola to take this approach. He didn't want, while we were obviously in the midst of a game every 3-4 days, Champions League, Premier League, Carabao, etc., he didn't want the attention to be on him and all the media's attention to be on him leading up to games. So he said, I'm going to put it on hold until the World Cup. And we spoke about this, didn't we, lads? We said before the World Cup started, as City fans, particularly me and Rebel, who don't give a fuck about England or the World Cup, we do care about the World Cup, but not as much as fans who have a country in the World Cup. We were more concerned in this 6 week period about Pep's future. We knew it was crunch time, and this is all we wanted. If whatever came out of this World Cup period, all I wanted it was to be an extension, and hopefully a lengthy extension of Pep Guardiola. I mean, Joe, these are some fantastic words and buzzwords we like to hear, and if they're in inverted quote commas, someone must have said them. Delighted and no hurry to leave.
Yeah, this is my main focus during the World Cup, and my country's in it, so I guess that kind of tells you more about my sort of expectations for this World Cup more than anything. But this was obviously going to be the time where he was going to do it, because again, no distractions. Like I said before, this was the perfect time where none of the players are even training. They're all either at the World Cup or they're on holiday, which again, no distractions. Pep's even on holiday. He wouldn't have to go and watch the racing. Again, I still would have preferred it a bit earlier. I would have loved to have been during sort of the downtime between the seasons in the summer, but I understand we did a lot of business. We did a lot of transfer business then, so maybe it just wasn't the right time. We had a pre-season for even though it was short, and it probably should have been longer. We had a pre-season for the first time in a long time where we were over in America, so understandable that it's taken till now. I think we all just kind of expected this to be happening, and again, like has been said, if he wasn't going to sign it, we would have heard by now at least some candidates come forward or be rumoured to take his place. So yeah, listen, I think that him being delighted, of course he's delighted. He's winning trophies. He's one of the best paid managers in the world. He gets everything he wants and more. And he knows that even though the media and the rival fans tried to bang this drum if he hasn't won a Champions League and this and that, the club don't view it like that. The people above him don't view the success being on winning or not winning the Champions League. They don't view it like that. They don't put any extra pressure on to go, we haven't had one, we got you for this reason, you get one. That's been the case since he got here. He's not here to win the Champions League, he's here to be successful, and he has been successful. So of course he's going to be happy. I don't really know much more to say. I think that this is the perfect thing for all parties concerned, and just looking forward to, come the summer, some transfers, getting some players in the door, see who we can attract this time. Because again, players like Haaland, they don't come if he's going to leave after a year. Players like Bellingham, he probably, if I'm going to be honest, he probably chooses Liverpool if Pep's not here, because they have Klopp and, Liverpool are the people's club, at least at the moment anyway. So I think that it bodes well, especially going forward, that we can be even more dominant, really. Let's be honest, we could be even more dominant. We are already domestically one of the best teams you will ever see in the Premier League. We can be even better. We know we can be even better with the squad that we have, with what we have available to us, with the manager willing to commit to everything. It's good, man. It's good, and I'm enjoying it.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, Joe. I'm glad, because you're a hard man to please, Joe. You're
I know. I am one of the hardest people to please, and even I'm enjoying this. Soak it in.
Soak it in, man. Take it all in. Fern Gully says, give thanks, Hugh. My best friend at school name was also Hugh. Big up, Hugh. We link up with the Big Six every time, and you, Hugh, have improved plenty. Big Steve, better watch out. Listen, Big Steve's my boy, man. Big Steve's a good friend of mine. Alec, after COVID lockdown, wars cost us of living. We deserve as much entertainment in World Cup. Listen, for people like me and Rebel, I mean, Joe can talk about his standpoint on England in a few minutes, but in terms of being Rebel, the World Cup is just entertainment. It really just is. Like, we're not, emotionally attached to anybody competing. Obviously, we're probably involved in sweepstakes, as some of you Big Six viewers will know. I got quite lucky with my Big Six sweepstake. I got nice a little bit.
You fucking lucky bastard. What was it you were saying? Brown envelope to Turkish, was
Brown
it?
envelope.
I slid my boy Turkish LDN a little brown envelope containing a sum of money that we will not disclose. And he has made sure that I have been nice and I've been given good teams, and he's made sure that I'm in a good position to win. No, I'm joking. There was no bribery. There was nothing like that. But yeah, listen, as far as the World Cup goes, the sweepstake and the countries I have within the sweepstake are my only interest, and it's the only kind of urging I have for a country to win. So for me and Rebel, we just want to be entertained. Alec, you're right. We just want to be entertained. Beyond belief. Go on, Joe. D1 Millie, England or Portugal for me. We're going to get into a bit of World Cup talk. We might park the Pep conversation there. Someone said clickbait. It was not clickbait. I don't know who said that.
We've literally spoke for nearly an hour about it. How the fuck is it clickbait?
It was not clickbait. It was George Adams, man. It wasn't clickbait. We're speaking about a report. It was an official report. How can it be clickbait? We didn't make it up. Listen, we're going to part the Pep conversation there for the minute anyway. We hope you enjoyed our conversation on Pep, because it's obviously, like I keep saying, we're more concerned with Manchester City than anything going on the international stage right now. What goes on within our club is far more important to me than anything that happens in Qatar right now. It's an interesting topic, Qatar, and I will engage it on shows that I'm involved in regarding the World Cup. I will give my thoughts and my opinions, and I'll have a laugh. But what actually emotionally matters to me and concerns me is what goes on at the Etihad Stadium, especially even though there's nothing going on right now in terms of football. What's going on in terms of contracts and the work behind the scenes, that matters to me. 24 minutes at a time, an England game, a laugh. Yeah, a 110-minute game today for England. I'll let Joe take the stage in a sec for that England game, because he cares a little bit more than me and Rebel. Fern, think about this. Due to Arsenal, what you guys think? Nah, I don't think Arsenal are quite there yet. I don't listen, Fern. I don't know why he's laughing. If you're an Arsenal fan, I will genuinely say big up Arsenal, that they're doing a great job. But as far as Arsenal's chances of getting Jude Bellingham, I don't think they're quite there just yet. If they were to win the Premier League this year, it would probably improve their chances. I don't know. I think they've got a smaller budget than most clubs. Arsenal, they don't usually spend the cash that everybody else does, or at least not in recent years.
Would you rather play for Pep? Would you rather play for Pep, or would you rather play for Pep's son? Make a decision, Jake, please.
There you go. Big Erling, so many empty seats at the World Cup. Man, the attendance at the World Cup, we may as well get into the World Cup. Haaland scored more goals than every World Cup team together. No spamming, says Corbin. Listen, 40 people in the building. We're going to move into some World Cup talk, some Jack Grealish talk, some England talk, and whatever else happened at the World Cup today. We'll stream for another 15-20 minutes or so, have a loose conversation about the World Cup, because like I said, I'm not too concerned. There you go. You see Super Jack on screen right now. You see my boy Jack Grealish scoring the best goal the World Cup has ever seen today against Iran. But before we move on, make sure you've all smashed the like button. Like I said, I'll keep saying it because it helps the channel massively. If you haven't done so already, hit that big thumbs up button. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you are new on our road to 5,000 subs. When we hit 5,000 subs, you best believe there'll be a big celebration, fireworks, confetti. For those of you who drink alcohol, call-in shows, giveaways, whatever. We're going to have a great time when this channel hits 5K because like I always say, it is as much your community as it is ours. We are building this for you to enjoy, you to get involved, and that's why you're seeing me tonight trying to read out as many of your messages as possible because I want you guys as much as possible to feel involved and like you're giving your thoughts and we're taking you seriously because we do. Anyways, Joe, Grealish is on screen. He ran the show today. Super Jack came on and showed his class. Super Jack, yeah, with the goal of the decade in one of the biggest games of all time. You can't write this guy off. Messi fairy tale narrative. Nah. This is Jack Grealish's World Cup. This is Jack Grealish's world, and we're just living in it. Tell me about this game.
Do you know what's funny? He almost fumbled it because I don't think he was expecting the ball to come to him. Like he genuinely almost fucked it because he wasn't expecting Callum Wilson to pass.
He meant that. He meant that.
Like
conviction.
Please, if you haven't seen the goal, please go and watch it. He almost fucked it, not because of like his technique or anything, because he just genuinely didn't expect to receive the ball back. Like he thought, Callum Wilson's got it. He's a number 9. He's going to try and put it in the top corner. He didn't expect it to come.
Joe, it's instinct. He's got a killer instinct, Jack Grealish. He doesn't need much time. Bang, back of the net.
Listen,
Let the man speak, please.
listen. You can be buzzing all you want. I do rate the fact how he still kept his word true and did the celebration. I quite like that. That was a nice touch. I like that. But
That was really nice. That was really nice.
in terms of the actual game itself, did I watch it? No, because it was at 1 p.m. and I was unconscious. So I watched the highlights instead.
I watched the second half. I watched the first half at home, right? I left to go to college. Then when I got into college, second half's about to start. So I watched the whole second half when I was doing my radio assignment. So it was enjoyable.
Listen, I have a message from you.
I said I'll let Joe, our resident Englishman, take the stage and speak about the English game. The fucker didn't even watch it.
Because
we
care.
knew he didn't watch it. We were going to let him bullshit for the whole thing. We knew he didn't watch it.
Yeah. Listen, I have a message from you here, Revel, that you said the games today have been wank. My brother in Christ, there was 8 goals in this one. Like,
it was shit. I ran.
It was entertaining.
It was entertaining, but I will be the first one to say, right? Last night we did our predictions. I have a rant going through. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry.
you gotta fucking apologise.
No, they are unimaginably awful. So bad. Turns out as well, the right back, yeah, he's the same guy who did the front flip. Remember he went to do the front flip a few years ago and didn't throw the ball. That's him. He's there playing again.
You know what? I'd say I'd feel bad, but I just kind of don't.
He's a techie guy.
Techie guy. Listen.
But actually, I have something to say about that Grealish goal, right? Fair play to him getting that position. I know it was as open as Atten, but he's done really well to get into the position. And again, like Murray said, it never in doubt. It's not like it just came to him and he tapped it in. He knew where to be. He knew.
Yeah, he definitely knew.
It was really entertaining, I will say, considering, look, I'm making no secret, I realistically don't care and I tend to cheer against England. But it wasn't entertaining.
No. So you tend to cheer against England. I'm trying
to go over this. I don't care enough.
You photoshopped your head onto an Iranian player and put it on Twitter this morning. You liar! You don't care that much. You liar! You are every day wishing upon the downfall of the England national team. You care more than I do. You care more than I do.
Right, just to be clear, let's just brush over that part. But Bukayo Saka is a player. He is so good. I know I should.
What Dara Rebel does in his spare time outside of stream hours, I have no involvement.
It's my Twitter.
Go follow if you want some content along those lines. Go and follow Rebel's Twitter. Stick it in the chat, Rebel, if you want. People want to follow you.
Rebel, you'll find it.
Let's push all that Iranian Photoshop to a side for 1 sec, and let's talk about the game. Yeah, listen, Bukayo Saka, what a player, man, what a player. And I was kind of looking at him saying, you know what, we need a Riyad Mahrez replacement. You know what, we wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind a cheeky little Bukayo Saka bid in the summer, or I don't know how long. He's just on a new deal, hasn't he? So it'll probably be pretty hard to.
Did it get officially done?
I don't think it's official. There's always rumours. Let me check real quick. Bukayo Saka. I don't think it's
officially done, but it is done.
He hasn't signed a new one yet. He's got 2 years left. No, he's got 1 year left after this season, and he's yet to sign a new deal.
That's weird because I remember he only signed a deal a couple of years ago.
2020. They didn't.
Yeah,
they
like,
didn't commit to a long one for some reason. I don't know why.
It was his first one after the youth deal, I think, is why.
It was
But,
his
like, we
first
have to
one, so they
realise-
gave him a 4. The first one, so they gave him a 4-year deal, but he's only got a year left, man. He
we
will
have to
sign a new one.
We have to realize he's older than Murray. He's younger than Murray. He's about 6 months older than me. He's much older. He is a baby. He's still a baby, and he's had scoring 2. I don't care what level of opponent he played. He scored 2 goals in the World Cup. He's a good player.
Listen, you also have to say, just tip your hat to him and say, you know what, after all the adversity that he did go through after missing the penalty in the Euros final, a lot of people would have crumbled and wilted, and their confidence, their personality, everything about them would have been knocked. But this guy turned up today, and I'm taking off my anti-English or my non-supporting English hat for a sec, and saying, you know, well done. The guy has got serious character, serious personality, and he's built with strong character, basically. So I have to just, you know, say well done to Saka. He's a top player. He's going to be a top player. Arsenal will need to get successful. They're going to need to win trophies, essentially, to hold on to this guy, because he doesn't want to be one of these players who in 10 years' time has been absolutely smashing it for Arsenal and won nothing. You're looking at Harry Kane.
Harry Kane, number one culprit.
He doesn't want to be a Harry Kane. He doesn't want to be a player who was exceptional, you know, breaking records, personal accolades, and no major honours to show for it. So Arsenal need to make sure they continue in the direction they're going. They need to win trophies in the next couple of years to make sure this guy stays, because if they can't offer him trophies, a player of his quality is going to look at someone like Pep Guardiola and say, can I play for you? Should City throw in a cheeky 70 million bid from in January if he hasn't extended by then? Just turn his head. Do you know what I mean? Just start to freak him out a little bit. Make him start to second think his make him start to doubt and second think his extension at Arsenal. Should we throw in a cheeky bid for Saka? I know it's not going to happen. I know it's not.
Do it though, because if he could turn his head, great. And even if not, if it causes a distraction and his form goes down for Arsenal, that's good for our league title charge. Like, it can off-put him.
Yeah, exactly, Joe. You're spot on. Even if we don't get the signing, at the very least, it'll distract Bukayo Saka, because he's gonna go. He like, if we put in a bid for him, or our club go to his reps and say, you know what, we want to sign Bukayo, we're looking at Amara's replacement. There is going to be a part of him kind of goes, okay, this is a pretty big opportunity here.
Arsenal, give me the bag. Arsenal, give me the bag to stay. Give me 300 grand a week to stay. Otherwise, I'm off.
Yeah, and they would do it. I think they would do it as well. They would give him the bag. We're not going to get him. We're not going to get Saka. It's kind of just more of a hypothetical conversation than.
Murray, I think you made a really good point about Saka and the whole. He's really bounced back from it. We've seen, like, lately, of course, with Jadon Sancho, things are going a bit downhill from after being in the same situation, obviously not getting called up to the World Cup. I think it's like some of the stuff that gets charmed those footballers, the fact that they can come through it, like, is really amazing. Like, we've seen it with Rashford as well. Rashford got the brunt of it during that World Cup. The fact that those two boys are able to come back and score those goals, again, I'll take my same hat off. It's just it's a good story for them. It's a good story, and you know what? I think, again, taking off both English and United hats, I think we have to wish Jadon Sancho the best as well in what he is currently going through, because it really doesn't look good for him, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I mean, like, putting aside all the history we have with Jadon Sancho and the fact that he plays for Man United, I would never wish that level of abuse or that level of struggle on any human being, never mind a footballer. I mean, at the end of the day, this is just their jobs. They were kids when they went to that Euros. And yes, they missed a penalty in a big moment, but they didn't deserve any abuse, first of all, and the abuse they did receive was absolutely shocking. So all you can do is just commend them and say, wow, for the character that obviously Rashford and Saka are showing currently. But I do wish the best for Sancho. I do hope that he can get his career on track and he can bounce back and, you know, build something for himself, because at the end of the day, we're football fans. We don't want to see any footballers, you know, struggling or having tough times or going through, you know, serious problems. So that's just me talking on a human level, not even on a football level. I think I speak on behalf of myself, Dara, and Joe, when I say I'm very I'm very glad that Saka and Rashford are in the positions they are, and I hope for something similar for Jadon Sancho. Big Erling says, here in Grealish has the same amount of World Cup goals as Rooney. I know who I'd rather have. Listen, I've been saying it, man. Grealish is clear of all these bums. Saka is Arsenal through and through. Trust me, full 100. Fern, I know, man. It was more of a hypothetical conversation. We don't think we're going to sign Saka, and well, definitely not anytime soon. I think, though, just a hypothetical concept for you again, or context, would be that if Arsenal were to fail to win trophies in the next 2-3 years, someone of Saka's quality will look at places where he can get trophies or has a better chance of winning trophies. So if Arsenal want to keep Saka for, big club legend status and, 10-15 year job, they need to give the guy trophies. Sancho deleted all Instagram posts and taking a break from socials. It's sad, man. It's really sad to see that this is what it's come to for Sancho, and I hope that he's just relaxing and he's taking his mind off things. Because, like I said, nobody deserves that. We need to do another Carlos Tevez moment and sign Marcus Rashford. No, I don't want.
No.
I don't want Rashford saying no, thank you. Saka, not for me. Listen, Saka, absolutely exceptional today. The kid is extremely mature and he took his goals really well. He deserved his goals. It's mad, England scoring 6 goals in a game and Harry Kane not getting any of them. And that's not to say, that's not a criticism of Harry Kane. That's more of a compliment to England and the firepower they have in their squad right now. And it's also a compliment to Harry Kane. For those of you who watched the game, he actually played really, really well. But just the concept of Harry Kane not scoring any of England's 6 goals, it's just wild. They have, serious firepower there. Granted, the opposition they're facing wasn't great. But, the fact they still scored 6, you can only play with what's in front of you. They did a good job. Raheem Sterling, where the fuck's he been? He hasn't scored a Premier League goal since August and then comes out with, in my opinion, actually one of his best finishes I've ever seen. It genuinely was. That's
the first goal like that he scored, I'd say, in about 4 years. Because he never scores those.
It was one of his best finishes I've ever seen. And Sterling has scored some great goals. A lot of tap-ins, a lot of right place, right time, smart play, positional play kind of thing. But today's finish was just genuinely lethal. He stopped his run because Harry Kane didn't hit it first time in. And then he still showed the instinct to go again and finish it. And it wasn't close to goal. He was still quite far out. So where has Sterling been? Where have you been, man? You're not turning up for Chelsea. You've not scored in the Premier League since August. And then you come out with that. Harry Maguire, where have you been? Harry Maguire, I know he went off in the second half with a head injury, but I have to give it to Maguire. He played really fucking well when he was on. He was a serious threat in the opposition's box or in Iran's box. And he wasn't actually bad defensively. On the ball, he was okay. I think he made one mistake. That's okay. That's normal. That's allowed. But he looked levels and upon levels above anything we've seen of Harry Maguire at Manchester United in years. So you can clearly see that there are some players in that England team who massively benefit from simply playing for England. Genuinely, from simply playing for England. There was a lot of talk leading up to this World Cup about, Sterling, who has been a Southgate favourite for years and years, and I think it's been justified. He's been a great player for England. But he hasn't performed well enough recently to warrant that starting position in the World Cup because you've got other players who do warrant it. Grealish, Foden, even Rashford to an extent. But, Southgate took that leap of faith and said, no, I'm going to trust Sterling. And he played Sterling, and Sterling played really well. He got his one opportunity, and he scored it. It's kind of hard to criticise England today, other than the fact that they conceded 2 goals. I mean, Joe, I know you didn't watch the full 90 minutes, which is a surprise to me. But have you any thoughts?
Wow, it's almost like I don't care about the group stages because they expect us to qualify with these. Incredible. I mean, I watched the highlights, so I saw all of the goals. I mean, Rashford's great finish on his weaker left foot. I mean, I don't know what. I'm sorry, D1, mate. I'm really sorry. I don't know what. Replacing a right-hand-sided player with a left-hand-sided player is not it, my friend. And also, he's United through and through, so it's never going to happen. But I think he was more in with a shout to start over Sterling. He's been better this season. I mean, most of those players in those attacking areas in the squad have been better than Raheem Sterling because he has been very bad for Chelsea. But he takes the Chelsea shirt off, puts on an England one. He's back being one of England's better players again, somehow. It was like in the Euros. Remember in the Euros, he was England's best player at the tournament, probably the best player in the tournament. It was shit for us. Like, it was so confusing, but it just seems to happen. Again, he's another player that just seems to turn up for his country. I mean, 6 goals, yeah. I mean, 2 goals conceded. One was like a 103rd minute penalty, which was one of the softest penalties I've ever seen. So I'm not really too bothered. I think that I was just really encouraged to see the fact that he didn't go with two holding midfielders. Like, genuinely tears in my eyes and everything. I fell to my knees at one point, almost. Because I've been calling for it. How many times have I been calling for Gareth Southgate to ditch two holding midfielders and use his attackers? What do we know? He scored 6 goals in a game. I know it's against Iran, but 6 goals. Like, it just, he needs to use the tools. So I will give him credit where it's due. He did that. Even if it was a 4-2-3-1, Bellingham's not a defensive player. He scored. He's not a defensive player. So again, I've been crying for this for ages, and he finally did it. I hope he continues, but that'll remain to be seen. I'll probably start watching the World Cup when he gets to the knockouts, because group stages for me, they're always boring, especially after the last England tournament. My God, England in the group stages in the Euros, they scored 2 goals in the group stages. Like, it wasn't fun. It really wasn't fun. So I've learnt my lesson, but I expect England to qualify, and it's good to see Grealish scored. I know I gave him a bit of stick because he almost fumbled it, but I'm happy to see him score because he needs everything that he can get for confidence in terms of what he can bring back to club level, because he seems to not be a starter for Gareth Southgate. Foden doesn't either, which I seem absolutely wild that Mason Mount is still starting games of football ahead of Phil Foden. I think that's absolutely crazy and it's criminal, but you know, you win some, you lose some. There's not really much you could do about it. He seems to be one of his boys. But I think for Grealish, it's good that he's scoring. If he could take some confidence back, hit the second half of the season running when he gets back, then those fears of him being unhappy with his game time, they'll go away because he'll play. If he keeps doing that, he'll play.
Exactly. Top of the league says played Mount over Foden, and I think that's one worth pointing out. One of my few criticisms of the game today for England was Mason Mount. I think he went missing a little bit. I don't think he contributed to the game in a way that he would have liked. I think Foden contributed more in the 20 minutes that he played than Mount did in the 70-odd minutes that he played. I think Mason Mount, I think in a tougher game against a better opposition, I think there'd be more analysis and criticism of Mason Mount, only for the fact that they won 6-2 and there were so many great moments, you know, young players scoring goals and whatnot. You know, you kind of brush over the Mason Mount or brush under the carpet. But in a game that England lost, let's say they lost today, or it was a tougher game, like I said, the knives would be out for Mason Mount a little bit more. It's not that I think Mount's a bad player. I think he's a good player. He's just possibly a misunderstood player. And people aren't really sure what's his best role, what's his best position, because he kind of plays everywhere for Chelsea. But today, yeah, I think in that midfield, you just have to say Bellingham and Rice were phenomenal. I don't know about Mason Mount.
Mason Mount in the 10 is one of the worst things you'll ever see, because he's not a creative. He's not creative, and he's not a goal scorer either. He doesn't do that. What if you listen to Chelsea fans? They call him. What do they call him? They call him a triathlete. Call him, you know, a road runner. He just runs about a lot. He'd be suited to playing deeper, you know, further down the pitch, maybe next to Rice. I know Bellingham plays there. But if he's not creative and he's not going to score you goals, his best position is probably further back where he can play box to box, because he gives you energy, and that's about it.
I think Mount's best position is on the bench, personally. He is 23 years old and doesn't have a set position where you can turn around and actively say that's where he changes again. Joe's going on presumption there. He's a bit of a workhorse. What was it you called him?
Triathlete. He just runs road runner.
He's a triathlete. He just runs. If that's the case, play him in your 8. Play him as a tireless midfielder, but he doesn't play there, so we can't say it's.
That's why Liverpool want him. That's the exact reason why he's been linked to Liverpool, because they need someone who's going to play in one of those 8 roles, who's going to run up and down the pitch, because like they've never had technically brilliant midfield. They have Thiago, but they've had Henderson in midfield, and they just need a guy who can run up and down. That's what Mount is.
Right now, you still don't know his best position, which, again, just as a purely City hat on here, I find it fucking bonkers is being played ahead of Foden, because, again, I was actually thinking this earlier, I think personally, Foden's future is in the midfield. He needs to be put in the midfield more. Southgate sees him as a winger. Like, he does. I don't think Pep sees him long term as a winger, but Southgate does see him as a winger, which is why if Saka's playing, if Sterling's playing, Foden's not kind of looking.
Foden's getting in that midfield because he plays with a 10. I mean, it's also, I think, in my opinion as well, it's also a contributing factor as to why Harry Kane doesn't often score goals. Like the games today, like you see, he's dropping deep, he's dropping left and right as well onto the wings, because Mason Mount isn't creating anything. He's just there. So Kane's having to essentially play in midfield as well as up front, because he needs to try and connect the play, he needs to try and create for his teammates, which, again, he did today, but like you said, if it's a tougher game or if we lose, the knives are out for Kane because he didn't score. The knives are out for Mount because he didn't create. He just ran about a lot. It's those sorts of things where it's all well and good while we're winning. It doesn't really matter. But you think later on in the tournament, it's going to be an issue.
D1 says, yeah, but the big question is, will Southgate stick to that when he has to play the likes of Brazil, Portugal, and Germany? My answer is no. My belief is that he went and played the more open, expansive football today because he knew the level of opposition and he wanted to try it out. Yes, it was successful. They still conceded 2. Not ideal. I don't think he has the bottle, in my opinion. He might prove me wrong. I don't care if he does or he doesn't, to be honest. But I think when the big fixtures come along, he will bottle it again and he'll go back to the 2 holding mids, 5 at the back, whatever the terrorism football that people call it, the setup he goes for usually. I think that's what I expect.
As soon as Kyle Walker comes back, it's going back to a 5. Later on down the line in the tournament, when Kyle Walker's, maybe not even fully recovered, but when he's available to play, say we're playing we did the predictions, say they're playing just anyone decent, he'll go, right, 2 holding midfielders and a 5. Shut him out.
Exactly. He's not one of those managers that's willing to trust his attacking players and the ability that he has going forward. And that's probably, as Joe has said to me off and on camera for years now, that's the biggest complaint of Southgate. He doesn't have the bollocks to go and utilise all his attacking options. Theo Millie says, Hugh, did you hear the most stupid comment from Gary Neville and Jamie Redknapp? They tried to say Maddison is on De Bruyne's level. I wouldn't even give that the time of day. Bellingham, Rice, Foden, De Bruyne, Rodri, Bernardo. Top of says, I think Foden can be a Bernardo. I think Rebel kind of touched on that, didn't he? Pep probably believes Foden's future is in the midfield and probably playing as a similar type of footballer to what we see Bernardo doing right now. I think that's a pretty good comparison. I think Shaw is so poor. First touch terrible and needs 2 touches always. I thought Shaw wasn't bad today. I thought out of the 2 fullbacks that played for England today, I think Trippier was probably the worst of the 2. I think Trippier looked sluggish. He looked off it. He looked possibly unfit, if you ask me. But yeah, I think Shaw wasn't too bad, to be fair to him. CB, someone tell me Phil Foden's best position. It's not mid and it's not as a winger. What is he? It's a mid. It's a midfielder.
Who's it?
CB.
CB, man. Come on, man. That's
It's a midfielder. The only reason he doesn't play there at club level is because you've seen the depth that we have in that area. Can't play there.
When we have someone this summer, like a Gundogan or a Bernardo leave, you will see how good of a midfielder Foden is. We saw him against Joe, help me here. Who do we play in the cup?
Peterborough.
Right. Look, Peterborough.
Him and Grealish started, and one of them was in midfield, and the one that was in midfield is Foden. When everyone thought it was the other way around.
Yeah, Foden was.
Listen, mate, CB. Could I just say this? Why does Pep never ever play him in midfield? Because we have De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva. He doesn't play in midfield because he can't, because of the names in front of him. He plays on the wing because second option on the right is Riyad Mahrez, who hasn't been great. That's the reason why he doesn't play in midfield. I think we can all agree is that because we have such good midfielders, he doesn't get in there yet. Because we need him further up front. Because he's too impactful.
But now it's just...
And also something Pep doesn't rush development. Do you know what I mean? If just because Pep believes that Foden's future is in midfield doesn't mean he's going to throw him in straight away. Foden is learning his trade still. Foden is not the finished article. He's not the final product just yet. He's doing great, and we're all really happy with Phil Foden. There's no complaints. But Pep clearly still believes Foden has stuff to work on before he gives him that, number 8/number 10 jersey, if you like, or that starting spot. So it's just a time thing, and I think it's a matter of it's an if, not a when. He does become the main midfielder or one of the main midfielders. But for now, I'm pretty happy with him. Where does Phil Foden play for England? Not midfield, because Southgate doesn't want to play him in midfield too.
He doesn't know ball. Southgate does not know ball, I'm afraid. There is a bit of an interesting topic though, right? Let's say, again, if Bernardo and Gundogan leave, right, Foden's naturally going to move back into midfield. Who starts at right wing then? Surely not Riyad Mahrez.
I have a funny feeling. Well, I have a funny feeling what we can expect from City in the next few years is Foden stays on the wing. Foden stays in the wing while De Bruyne is still there. And De Bruyne's midfield partner will be Jude Bellingham. You'll have Rodri, Bellingham and De Bruyne while De Bruyne is seeing out his final years. I think the long-term project is Foden to take over not the play the way De Bruyne does, but to take over that part of the pitch, is to play there or on the left hand side of that, and Bellingham on the right, whatever. I think Bellingham and Foden will be very interchangeable. I still believe we're getting Jude Bellingham. This is on the base we're getting Bellingham. But if we don't get Bellingham and Gundogan leaves, yeah, you'll see Foden probably play more in the midfield. And I think it'll be a regular rotation between Mahrez and Palmer. I think it's perfect timing for Palmer, who will get to that next stage of the project Foden. We've seen, Foden is the prime example of the project that Pep likes to place on young players. Palmer will probably become a regular fit at right wing.
Hopefully, I'd really like to see Palmer there, but the thought of him rotating with Riyad Mahrez, I'm sorry, it scares me. I understand the pedigree that Mahrez has, but if you look at him now, think of that in 2 years' time. Realistically, I don't want to make a presumption say it's probably going to be much worse.
How many more times are you willing to put up with Grealish and Mahrez as well? That's also a question. How many more times are you willing to put up with it before you go, here, it's not working?
Here's the question, right? Here's the question that I thought of, right? Do you take a risk of not signing Bellingham if Foden drops into midfield? Honestly.
I've no problem with it.
Me neither. Really, me neither.
I don't think it's what's going to happen. I think it's what I said. Bellingham will play midfield with De Bruyne. And CB says Jude, Kev, Rodri is scary as it is. And the club know this. I believe our midfield next year will be Jude, Kev, and Rodri. And Foden will continue to play on either the right or the left.
You've also got to bear in mind, some of this just literally popped in my head right now, is when De Bruyne plays on that right-hand side of midfield, whoever plays on that right wing, unless it's Mahrez, if it's Bernardo Silva, they interchange. De Bruyne ends up going and playing out on the right and being that wide threat over there. So realistically, he's technically still playing midfield, just in a different role. Just because his position on the pitch, on paper, says right wing, he's not really a winger. He gets a lot of touches on the ball. He drifts inside. He comes deep to pick up the ball. It's not a natural winger role that he plays. So yes, he is a midfielder, even though on paper he's on the right.
Exactly. One of our biggest assets and the beauty of this squad is that they're all extremely versatile footballers. They can all play a whole array of positions. So to label particularly our attacking ones as set in stone in this position is probably a bit unnecessary, because we've seen them all play in different areas of the pitch and they can all do pretty good jobs. But yeah, like I said, Jude, Rodri, and Kev, I would expect. Bernardo thrown in there. I think one of Bernardo or Gundo will leave, maybe both potentially. But we have the replacements, we have the depth, we have the players to keep going.
I have some, to go on record, right? I think Bernardo's going to stay.
Won't.
I will. I think he will.
He's interesting.
I think we'll lose Gundo.
I think we will as well. I think Gundogan on a free to Barcelona, because I saw the other day. I can't remember for the life of me who it was, but it was that Barcelona have entered the race with Chelsea for Rafael Leao. I don't know how they can afford him, but they've entered the race. And if that's the case, then they can't afford him and Bernardo Silva. I'm sorry, they can't. It's Barcelona. They are still struggling for cash. They sold their soul to be able to get what they have now. Gundogan on a free is their most realistic sort of outlook, and I can see that one. I don't know, as much as I love him, I love Gundogan. He's one of my favourites. He's one of my boys. But I'm sorry, if letting Gundogan walk for nothing to Barcelona means we can keep Bernardo Silva, even extend his contract, I'm taking it 10 times out of 10.
Joe had a really interesting theory. There a while ago about how City could potentially turn around to Barca and say, if you completely end your pursuit of Bernardo Silva, you can hold on to the 50 million for that shy bag Ferran Torres.
I don't think that's going to happen. We want our cash for Ferran Torres.
I'd take keeping Bernardo over 50 million, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think Barcelona end up signing Gundogan. I don't think he stays. And I think that in Bernardo's mind could, make him turn around and go, well, they've just signed him. They don't really want me anymore. There's no better place for me to be. I was only going to move there for the weather. I'm going to sign a new contract. And then we keep him. And then we had Jude Bellingham. And then it gets absolutely terrifying.
There you go. That's the thought process behind our thought process behind the future of our midfield and our attacking areas of the pitch anyway. Pep is definitely rebuilding. It's obvious Pep is rebuilding. Give me the cash. Barca signed some deal recently. They've got the funds available. Gundo loves scoring goals. Now he pushes into the box so hard that our midfield looked empty in the games both Kev and Gundo start. Yeah, I don't think Kev and Gundo work well together, but Look, listen, it's a conversation we'll continue to have. I have no issue with the direction it's going in. I think the future looks bright. Like I said, I think we'll lose Gundo. I think with the club, like I've heard that the club are pushing hard to get an extension out of Bernardo. They want Bernardo to actually extend his current contract, and from what I've heard, is that he's quite open to it. Bernardo seems like he's done a full 180, if you like, and is potentially happy to sign a contract. I don't know I don't know the ins and outs of it. I don't know how long. I don't know how much money. I don't know anything about that, other than for the fact that I've heard Bernardo is open to staying, and City are pushing hard to do it. So, with that knowledge and the lack of knowledge that they're pushing for a Gundogan extension, you would think they're maybe anticipating a Gundogan exit, and they're going to go all in for Jude and hold on to Bernardo, and then we've got all that depth. You have to remember, we can accommodate for all these players. We play a crazy amount of football. We play 60-odd games a season. There's plenty of game time for everyone. Plenty of trophies there to be won, and they will all buy into the fact that with that amount of quality in the squad, they can compete on all four fronts. They can compete for absolutely everything. So listen, I think that's the way it's going to go anyway. We've streamed for probably a lot longer than we anticipated tonight, but it was a good one. All of you guys in the chat have made this stream a very good one. Some of you given some great comments, some great conversation starters, and as always, we massively appreciate it. We're going to wrap it up now because I think D1 said in the chat there, Argentina kick off early tomorrow at 10 a.m. I want to watch Argentina. I want to see how Messi gets on. I want to see how La Araña, Julian Alvarez, gets on. So I'll be up for that, and we'll probably stream. What day is tomorrow? Tuesday. Yeah, we'll stream tomorrow at 10:30. We might upload a video as well. We're going to keep uploading content. We're enjoying this kind of relaxed content. We're enjoying chatting to you. We're enjoying getting you involved. So smash the like button as well on your way out. If you haven't done so already for whatever reason, smash the like button. If you're not already, subscribe to the channel as well on our road to 5K. Share the channel around. Get your friends involved. Get the community bigger. It's your community as well. The 1894 belongs to you and it belongs to us. It's for all of us. And yeah, we'll see you tomorrow at 10:30. Good night and God bless. Big up Jackie G.